Hello fellow crafters, Janine here, and today I'm going to show you how I made this watercolor card using some of the components from the May 2016 Simon Says Stamp Card Kit of the Month. I used a lot of the stamping elements from that kit and one of the piece of the cardstock from that kit to make this card. But the watercolors were things that I already owned, the glossy accents, Wink of Stella, these full card bases, 8.5 by 11 size card bases were things that I already had on hand. But anyway, mainly what I utilized was the stamps. This is a card that I made for my son's band director. This is his last year at our school. He's moving on to a different school that's closer to home, and we're really sad because he brought music to my son's life. My son had struggled with kind of finding a place to fit in school, and had dealt with some bullies and issues like that, and here comes this wonderful band director with some shiny instruments that caught my son's eye, and that's been it. He's been hooked on music ever since. And you know, I'm very grateful to this man for bringing music to my son's life, and you can hear that it's very emotional for me that he's leaving, but I wish him nothing but the best, and I wish him sunny days ahead. He's weathered some storms in this band program, and this new opportunity is going to give him more time with his family, which is something that I know that he needs. So good luck to him, and thank you so much for watching. Let's move right on into the tutorial, and I'll show you step by step, in depth, how I made this card, because I was again going to bring you another series in the watercolor another part of the watercolor series that I've been doing. I'm sorry, I have a hard time when I'm on camera. I think I freeze up a little bit. I have a hard time finding my words, but anyway, so we're still getting a watercolor video on Monday. It's just going to be more of like practice. Let's put some of the skills that we're learning to use and actually make something with those watercolor skills. So this is a watercolor skills video. It's just not necessarily in the same series. Anyway, let's dive right on in. Okay, I'm going to start by stamping some clouds on, and I've done this a couple of different ways and just keep struggling with it, trying not to have the little faces in the clouds. Simon Says Stamp, I really wish you would have left the faces off and made them just a completely separate component that could be added on if desired, but doesn't have to be there, because I'm struggling trying to not have faces in my clouds. But anyway, so I know I'm going to go ahead and put let me go ahead and set my umbrella about where I'm going to want it. So I know I want my first cloud right about there. And I'm still getting a face. This is frustrating me so bad. I'm about to just completely cut this face off this cloud. I've tried masking it. I've tried, and somehow the ink bleeds through and still gets on the stamp and still ends up on my paper, and I'm so frustrated with that right now. It's just driving me a little bit batty. I guess we'll just roll with that face and see what I can do to maybe keep. Let me try inking just the outside of I tried inking just the outside of the stamp just to get the outline of the cloud, and that there still is a little bit of ink getting onto the face, but let me try it again, because this is being so very frustrating. And a little bit of residual on a face, but maybe when I paint it in, it won't look so bad. Okay, and let me go ahead and stamp one on the other side. I've really come to dislike this face on this stamp. I'm just going to keep going with it. I've started over so many times. I'm a little tired of starting over. So I've got a couple of masks that I made for my clouds. So I could do this layering. And you can see why I didn't want the face stamp, because that would be an awful lot of little faces. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the sun. And this is the one I really wanted the face on. These daggum clouds have challenged me to no end. Because I wanted the sun smiling, peeking out from behind the clouds. But let me go ahead and I think I'm gonna try and remove the face or mask it off. I know you're probably getting tired of hearing me go on about it, but it's just it's really frustrating. It should have just been a separate element altogether. Okay. Overall, in general, I think I've got the effect I'm looking for. Okay, let me go ahead and I'm going to stamp my little apple. Okay, and I'm going to mask the apple off and stamp the umbrella. And again, I'm going to do my best to not get the face inked on the umbrella. And now I'm going to stamp the bottom of the, I'm going to ink up and stamp just the handle of the umbrella and extend it past the apple. By a little bit. So, like so. And now I'm going to do my little speech bubble. And now the sentiment that I want in there, which is thank you, thank you, teacher. Okay, now comes the fun part. We get to color everything in. Okay, I'm going to start with a number 8 creative squirrel. Creative. I cannot talk today. Creative Mark Mimic Squirrel brush. And I'm going to put it in. I'm going to pick up some Payne's Gray from my watercolor palettes, Turner's Professional Watercolors. And I'm just going to go in like at the bottom of these clouds. I'm going to clean my brush off and then just start pulling that color, kind of fading it up into the rest of the cloud. Okay, I'm changing tactics here because I didn't like the way that first cloud came out. So I'm going to just go ahead and wet the entire cloud. And just let the color bloom in it. And I'm going to put just a little more color at the bottom edge, which is where I want it to be a little darker. And I think I like that a little better. Okay, what I'm doing now is doing a couple of clouds that just are kind of lightly grayed out. I still want some white to show through. So I don't want every cloud to kind of look, you know, exactly the same. So again, I'm just wetting the cloud first and then just dropping some pigment in kind of randomly, moving it about. And you can see I've been moving around, giving clouds a chance to dry before working on the one next to it so that all my pigment doesn't just bleed into each other and then everything just looks exactly the same. And I cleaned my brush off good, and now I'm just kind of smooshing. It's the same size 8 round. And I'm just kind of smooshing the bristles apart. And I'll pick up some of that Payne's gray. And I'm going to have to keep going back and kind of moving the bristles apart because I keep wanting to come back together, which is what they're supposed to do, so there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to give my apple a little color. I'm using some cadmium red. Okay, that looks good. And let's see, for his cheeks, actually I'm gonna let that just hang out and dry. And I'm gonna work on the umbrella. I'm just painting this little leaf in sap green. That permanent gamboge in the sun. And I think I'm going to use a little permanent lemon on the little sun rays. Okay, I just tilted because I had a little puddle of water. So rather than picking it up, I'm using it to work for me and moving it around this edge of the sun so that the color will be a little darker around that cloud. And I think I'm just going to have, let me wet the paper a little bit. And I'm just going to have a little bit of yellow peeking out here and there. Okay, now back to this umbrella. I'm going to go ahead and pick up just a scotch of burnt umber for the stem of the apple. Like so. I'm going to switch back to my number 8. And I'm going to wet my umbrella. I think I'm going to use some phthalo blue. Okay, rinse my brush off, and I'm going to pick up some of the color along here. I just want to lighten it up. And I'll pick up a little bit out of these puddles before they get out of hand here. Okay, that looks good. And I think along the bottom here, just to represent kind of a puddle of water, I'm going to wet my paper. And just drop some Payne's Gray into it. And I'm just blotting it a little bit because I don't really want it to be very bloomy. Oh, look what I went and did. Doggone it. Well, isn't this just lovely? I just go from making it worse to worse. Okay, I just dropped some dioxazine violet into that umbrella just to change the color. I'm gonna let this dry before I just trash it all together, because right now I can honestly say I'm just disgruntled with it. But in the meantime, I'm gonna mix a little Payne's Gray and a little bit of burnt sienna to make a bit of a blacker Payne's Gray. And I'm going to go back to my number 4 round. And I'm just going to paint the whole of the umbrella. Okay, I'm just going to let everything dry now and come back because I want to stamp a little sentiment on the sun. I want to stamp some raindrops in and put some glossy accents on them, but I need to just let everything dry and see where it is and see if I want to start over, because I'm just really unhappy with this little bit right here. But I'm wondering if maybe by the time I add some raindrops to it and some glossy accents, if I can't maybe bring it back to a place where I'll be happy, because I'd hate to start over, because for the most part I really like where everything is at this point in time. So I'm gonna let this dry and come back. Okay, all of my paint has dried, and so far I think now that the paint's dry and I look at it, I think I'm pretty good with what I'm left with. I think I can make it work, so I'm gonna keep going with it. And I'm just taking the little raindrop stamp from the stamp set, and I'm just gonna put in a few little drops here and there. And I don't want to go too crazy with it, but because everywhere there's drops, I'm going to be putting glossy accents, so I don't want to go too over the board nuts. But before I put the glossy accents on, I do want to finish my stamping, because I did have one more sentiment to put on here. The teacher that I'm making this for is moving on to a different school, and we're going to miss him very much. He is my son's band teacher, but and this was really a journey for my son, who struggled, as I told you earlier, with some bullying, and this band program really meant a lot to him. But the band director needed to be closer to home and his family and so forth, so that's part of the reason for this card and this particular sentiment is kind of, it's to say thank you, but it's also to say, you know, there's good times ahead. So this says sunny days ahead. So I put that right there. And I'm just seeing if there's anything I want to do before I put the glossy accents on, because once I put the glossy accents on, I have to walk away and leave it alone for a while I work on the rest of the card. And I think one thing I want to do, and I'm trying to decide right now what pen. I don't have any micron pens. I would love to have a micron pen, but I don't have any. And what I would like to do is kind of clean up this edge around the umbrella, so I'm trying to decide what's going to be the best medium to do that with. And I don't know if, let me see if I have, I might use, well, you know what, let me just go ahead and do that. I'm going to use my black Bic Market. And I'm just going to be really careful. Take my time and clean up this edge around the umbrella. Yeah, that looks better, and I feel better about it now. Okay, so that's, nope, time for the glossy accents. We'll put the glossy accents on, and then we'll move on to the rest of the card. In the meantime, let me go ahead and move my watercolor palette out of the way. So what I'm doing is just dropping a little bead of glossy accents, and then I stop squeezing the bottle and just drag the tip up to get that raindrop shape. And I'm also going to put glossy accents on his cheeks. And in this thought bubble. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to do to the front of this card is hit it with a little wink of Stella on the sun. I might have to go back in and stamp that sunny days ahead. I think I'm going to use a darker ink for that, but I'm going to wait till all of this dries before I mess with it anymore. But now that I've got everything down, I like it a lot better and I'm happier with it. So, moving right along, put this somewhere safe from me because nothing seems to be safe around me lately. I'm going to go ahead and work on the rest of the card. I'm using a standard card size. This is the 5.5. It makes a 5.5 by 8.5 card, and I've already cut a piece of the yellow cardstock from the kit to fit on it. And I'm gonna go ahead. I want to emboss this. Like I said, this is to my son's music teacher, so I'm using one of my recent purchases that I showed in a haul, which I'll go ahead and link right here for you. I'll put an iCard to that haul where I show you this embossing folder and others. Oh, and this is just a little bit long for it. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead with it, and I'm just not going to worry about it. Only a little bit of it's going to show anyway, so it's okay. Let me go ahead and get my We Are Memory Keepers, and I'm going to set it to the embossing setting. Oh, let me put this ink up before I make a mess. Ooh, that was close. Let me get my platform and squishy pad out. It's got some musical notes embossed on it. I think I like the deboss side a little better. And like I said, you're only going to see a small portion of this. Okay, and just to show you, because I'm still waiting on glossy accents to dry, I'm going to trim this up quite a bit and then adhere that to this card base here, and I hope you can see that embossing. There you go, you can see it now. And I'm going to, so really and truly only a tiny little bit on the sides is going to show. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry, because there's not much I can do until it is dry, and I'll come back and we'll finish the card when it's done. Alright, I'm ready to start assembling this card now that everything is dry. Ooh, and I already put my mat down. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, let me go ahead and take this tape off. And I did go ahead, and I'm sorry I didn't film it, but I did go ahead and stamp that sentiment again, just to darken it up. Okay, let me get my paper trimmer out. Well, actually, let me get my ruler out first. Alright, so I've got this cut now at 5 by 8, and I think I want to cut it down to maybe 4.5 by 7.5. Or more, actually. Let me measure that again. Let's just... So maybe 4. I think I'm going to do it more like 4 by 7. Because I do want more of that background to show through. So let's see how that looks. Okay, that's at 4.25 there. I think I like that. So let's do this to... As much of the music notes is not showing through as I'd hoped, so, and I think I've got a little bit of room to take off a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and take it down to 4 to 7. That's about as much as I can take off. We're just not going to get to see the music, as much of the musical notes as I had intended, but that is okay. That's just the way it goes sometimes. So let's go ahead and finish this up. And you see, this was one of my first attempts at making those clouds. I tell you, those clouds were giving me a very bad time. I was getting very frustrated with them. Just for future reference, Simon Says stamp, you know, when there's a cutesy feature like that, like a little face, make it something that can be an add-on and not a permanent fixture of the stamp. You know, if it was part of an animal or a person, I could understand it, but you know, an object like a flower or a cloud, it would have been nice to have that option without the face. Just my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth. There we go. And now this card is complete. And I hope that our music director has a wonderful time at his new school. I hope that it is a very prosperous journey for him. So happy trails and good luck, Mr. Golden. Anyway, you guys, I just want to say thank you for watching my videos. I am so grateful to you. If it weren't for you watching, I would have no reason to make these videos. But you give me the opportunity to share my learning experience, you know, the things that go wrong and the things that go right, because it can go either way when you're crafting. And sometimes you just have to start over, and sometimes you can work with a mistake and keep going. So I hope, if nothing else, you get that from these videos, that you get inspiration and ideas how to work with what you have and how to overcome when things just aren't going the way you intended. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. If you would like to help support Janine's Craft Room, there's going to be an iCard right about here, and you can make a donation to help me to bring these projects and these videos to you, if you so choose. If not, that is okay. Just know that I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you watching my videos. I appreciate you giving me a thumbs up and subscribing, because that supports me in ways that you just can't even imagine. Well, anyway, you guys have a very blessed day. Bye now.